everybody, it's Linda G, and
Everybody.
today we have Andre. Yay! So you tell us about your new channel.
It's a channel that I've called Empowerment, where I talk about, in a sense, everything but astrology. It's the place of meditation, mind awareness. What really led me to astrology. It started there, but there are two journeys, two concurrent journeys that throughout the decades I've carried both those together. And it's the idea of how to help yourself, so to speak, even if you never look at a chart. Right? You could, for example, say that it's something along the lines of what someone like Eckhart Tolle would say, or sometimes you'd see these ideas in Zen, or you would see them in any number of places. So it addresses that. But what I'm going to do is put a lot of videos with those ideas on the channel, and then I'll put the same videos on my astrology alert channel with the astrology reasoning for what I'm saying. So if I say something, there's a link to the astrology. And this is where people can learn about how astrology works, but in a way to be able to use it, because when people ask about specific things, the only way you can answer those questions is by doing your chart, because you got to see what your own particular chart says. People will say, well, how does Saturn on your sun work? How does the Saturn return work? It depends on the chart. For some charts, it works in one way, others in a different way. Some are easier than others. You have to look at the individual chart. But you can get really good guidance by just understanding how planets work overall, because everyone has these planets. Everyone,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you'll find it interesting. A lot of the postings on there should be, quite interesting, because they point to things that we just do every day, right? In our lives, like how I've heard you say how, remain positive, use your breath to calm yourself. That's deep teaching. Seems really simplistic.
It seems simple, yeah, and it's so simple because I always made a lot of drama in my head. I was a drama queen. And then I never understood how things that never worked out for me. And like my dad used to say, if it wasn't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. So I was just always having drama. And then I realized after cancer that with Eckhart Tolle's teachings and stuff, just breathe and be present. And I thought, well,
Exactly.
okay, well, let me try it. So I did the 3 breaths a day, every day. And I'll tell you, within 6 months' time, I could feel the change. I could feel pretty much whatever I wanted, desired, would start coming true.
Exactly.
And I also don't fret as much. Like I had somebody write me today, so angry at Trump and that SOB and this and that. And I said, honey, try not to go there, because it doesn't help, doesn't hurt him. It only hurts you. And I know, Linda, but and we all were so mad. So speaking of SOB, so they put the jury on hold today. And they said, but they're on standby to meet for tomorrow. And right. I talked to you just before we came on, and can I tell you something? And I hope you people don't get mad. This one isn't the big one. This is going to be okay. This is the beginning, but the big one is Jack Smith.
True, and there has been news on that.
Big one is Jack Smith.
And
but this one, right? I think that he'll get indicted over this.
Right. That's the main point. I mean, the thing is that you have to be patient. We've said this so many times. This is true not just for Trump, but maybe especially for Trump, because he is an ex-president who is really malevolent, and you cannot go to court unless you're totally sure. So if there's any even minor thread, tie it up. Most of what we're hearing is very negative for Trump, like that lawyer that came on, blah, blah, blah. They put him on the jury, and the jury didn't even want to talk to Michael Cohen to rebut. That is not good news. That means they heard him and they thought, this doesn't make any, this doesn't do anything.
Did you see his presentation? He seems like a mob boss.
Yeah, well, they all are, up and down the line. Look at that other guy, Tacopino. He goes on to say, oh, this isn't anything. And now there's video of him 2 years ago saying, oh, yeah, this is dangerous. You shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff because maybe you're going to get indicted. There you are. Like, these people seem to think there's no film. There's no record.
Oh, and the mob boss, he had been talking to Stormy Daniels 2 years beforehand.
Exactly,
Denied it.
exactly.
They got video of him saying, yeah, I talked to her.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with this is that you have to realize, speaking of charts, Trump's chart is this map of everything is messaging, everything is talking, everything is creating these realities that he wants you to buy into. You can't bring that into court. In court, they're just going to say, did you do it? Here are the receipts. You signed it. You're not supposed to do that. He can't bring up, oh, the Marxists and this is
And
BS.
this is Democrat run, and this is
Right.
political.
Yeah, exactly. So this, by the way, goes toward as well to Fannie Willis, because people keep saying, "Oh, what about that case? They're coming after her." That same lawyer or a different lawyer, I forget now, they were saying how, "Oh, this is totally unfair because with the jurors, they showed them when someone was taking the fifth, they would show them video of the person saying things, that related to the question." And this guy says, well, that's unfair. How's that unfair? That's what you do in court. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like they're trying to protect this guy from something that he actually did. I don't know if you saw Joe Scarborough, the ex-Republican who now is really down on the Republican Party. And he was saying this morning, hey, here is a list of people who were charged with felonies in New York for $2,000 crimes like not returning a couch. That's a felony, right? And you're telling me that 130 grand for a porn star on the eve of an election is not a felony? Don't make me laugh. So, like, in other words, he gets to do that for free. No, he doesn't.
Right. Oh,
So even though,
tables turn, they'd be all over us like
exactly. It's just that keep in mind, yes, it's an ex-president, therefore it'll go slow. But hey, Saturn went into Pisces a few days ago, and didn't you notice that as soon as it entered in there, things picked up, right? They got worse. Saturn is in Pisces for 3 years. This is going to keep going. Like, one of the things, by the way, if Bragg indicts, it doesn't happen right away. Trump is a master at stalling. He'll use everything in his power through lawyers to drag it out. But I want to see him compete for that, presidential thing, to compete for the nomination with multiple indictments at the same time. Let's see if he can do that. Maybe his crazy MAGA people will go, yeah, we got to go. You need a lot of people to back you, right? And this is where there are enough people in there that have enough common sense to go, how's this going to work? This guy's like, in 4 different court cases. They look really serious. How is this going to work to go toward the presidency? And besides, what if he does? How's he going to win? Explain that to me. It's senseless. The whole thing is senseless. What is really bad, I think, is for the Republican Party that they're tied to this moron. They're totally tied to him.
No.
Yeah.
But even if that guy from Florida comes in, DeSantis, he's not.
No. Well, he's having it both ways. He took a shot at him by saying, "Oh, I don't know anything about porn stars," and and apparently they're all really mad at him for that because you're not supposed to say anything about Trump, right? But he can't say. I mean, DeSantis should be able to say, "Here, I'll tell you what's going to happen here. If you go with him, we'll lose."
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you.
But if we go with DeSantis, it will lose too.
Well, but he can't say that. He'd have to. That's to get himself. Yes, I agree, because I don't think DeSantis is either just on its face competent to win, because he thinks he can turn the entire country into Florida, and he's got all kinds of problems in Florida. He's lying about that.
Yeah, his numbers are going down.
Yeah, and his to be honest, I mean, on the level of presidential politics, it is not a good time for a Virgo to try to become president. It just isn't.
You mean I can't run for president?
No, you can't. Well, I mean, you can, but I would say the timing is suspect.
It's off.
Yeah, it's off.
And then the other good news, I don't know if you've heard anything else about it. I don't know. You watch Joe in the morning. That they made that attorney give some sort of deposition, and then they made Jack Smith, because Jack Smith wants to say, no, you illegally covered for this guy, maybe not knowing you were illegally covering for him. So now you can testify.
Yeah, like apparently this Corcoran character, Evan Corcoran, he told the woman, I think her name is Abba or something. It's a woman lawyer that Trump has, who doesn't seem very competent either.
She seems stiff as a board, and she looks like Don Jr.'s girlfriend.
Exactly, right.
Big makeup,
Right. So apparently this guy told her to sign this thing they sent to the Justice Department saying, we have no more records. But now it turns out that Corcoran says the reason I told her that is because Trump told me to tell her. So Trump is the one saying, tell them we have no more records. So then the judge is saying, there is no attorney-client privilege because you guys are engaging in a crime. That is not good news, right? Because then, in a way, Corcoran now is going to say, well, it's not me. This is just what Trump said. Now what does Trump do, right?
Right.
In a court case, they're going to say, you were holding on to records that you were not supposed to hold on to. Because he's trying to, create all these ideas that these are mine, I can keep them, we can negotiate. No, you can't, right? And this is often what Scarborough will say in the morning. Any citizen doing this would go to jail for a decade for playing around with,
And the whataboutism, what about Biden and Pence? Well, as soon as they saw him, they turned him in.
Exactly. That's the idea that he's exposed to obstruction of justice. And the only thing I'm, disappointed in is that they don't charge him also for all the obstruction he did under Mueller, because Mueller had multiple instances of obstruction of justice. How are you going to have a country? Where's the rule of law if you can just lie to the FBI? Then everything breaks down. It's as simple as that.
But also Barr was working on his side.
Yeah, of course. Barr's another one. I mean, there's no question. There's no question. Yeah. It's true.
Can I ask you something? I just get this feeling that in the anger, let's say Trump does go down and it's so bad that people are walking away from him. I feel like he'll do things to Satan and other people running. He'll say terrible things about him.
Are you kidding? I agree with you 100%. Okay. There's no other way. Trump doesn't know how to do anything without being in constant revenge mode. Look what he did when DeSantis said, I don't know anything about this porn thing. Trump's thing in Truth Social is really, Truth. It's pretty funny. He said, something about DeSantis and underage girls, and he implied he might even be gay. I mean, let's just throw insults at the guy.
Roger Stone said Trump had a bunch of stuff on him, yeah.
That's what Trump does, right? And it's, homophobic, it's ugly, but that's how he plays. He plays, he's like always the bottom of the barrel, gutter politics, the insults, everything.
Yeah.
We're all familiar. Yeah.
So, well, I got to tell you, I got to give you thumbs up. You said that while I don't know the specifics, but you'll remember. You said that he was actually kind of protected in his sign, where he could get away with everything. And I remember you pointing out to me that he could kind of do things that didn't quite have the boom back. And then you said maybe it was even the Saturn thing. When this starts to occur, everything, I think you even said with the 2022, we weren't talking when he ran for president again, right?
No, you mean back?
I knew he was going to lose, but you showed, I think, that he was going to lose, or you could see the chart because he wasn't being able to just get away with everything.
Well, the thing is that the planet that I've seen repeatedly through many, many charts, the criminals dislike Saturn because Saturn brings in the results of what you've done. So you start looking up serial killers, these programs where they show you some person, and if you can get the birth date and see what's going on, even in my head I would go, oh yeah, that's Saturn. It went in, and that's when they finally knock on the door. Trump, when he ran in 2020, the reason he couldn't win, he was on a direct Saturn hit, right then at the moment of the election. There's no way you can win that. It's opposing you. It was opposing his career planet, right? Which means it's over. Now he's entered a 3-year period where Saturn is on him, not constantly, but it's in like one of my sisters says, Saturn is in the building. so you have to deal with Saturn, right? And that's what it'll be. It'll be a constant problem, and you get called to account, right? It's like that. And you see that from what just happened, just the beginning of this, which was March 8th, right away, we started to get more threatening news. That's in fact when it came out that Alvin Bragg, okay, I'm going to indict. And now there's Jack Smith and Fannie Willis too, seems,
She's got her cards close to her chest. But she's got more than Trump. She's got several people she's indicting.
That's the thing. Yes, exactly. And this is the whole idea that it's a sprawling investigation, and there are so many points that link to him, right?
Yeah.
And it makes it really complicated. So, and, the other thing too is that in the Saturn cycle, you see this quite a bit too. One of the karmic consequences is it's like you cut the circle in 4 pieces. So say Saturn is in a sign, it'll generally, well, almost always, when it goes, starts in one point and then you go a quarter of the way, like in its travel. And right now, it's reached the quarter point from when he entered office back in 2015, because it was in Sagittarius. Now it's in Pisces, right? So the situation is crashing into that. It's saying, you started that, here are the consequences, right?
Right.
Because he both had crimes from before, but he committed multiple crimes while in office and after he left office. The man is a crime machine. Let's
Right,
just face it.
right.
That's what he is. He doesn't know how to be honest.
No, he doesn't. It's not in his blood.
He just doesn't know. Yeah, exactly. So,
They had Mary Trump on last night. I can't remember what show. Oh, Lawrence. She was on, and that Lawrence was saying, you can't trust any leaks from the Trump place because those people lie all the time. And they were saying, oh no, he's just sad. And she said it's not in his ability to be sad. He can be fearful, but he can't be sad. Trump, he's angry right now.
yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think he's a narcissistic sociopath. He's you could almost say he's borderline. Exactly. For entertainment purposes only. He's not. I think in part, I think the Trump from 20 years ago wouldn't have done all these things. I think he's declined in his mentality. Some probably onset dementia. I don't know, but you put all that together, which becomes like a kind of reckless, insane way of doing things, together with a really narcissistic personality, and that's why you see all this stuff, right?
And he became president, even though he knows that. The thing is, the whole time he was president, he was trying to defend himself why he was president.
Yes, exactly.
Because he knows we knew he didn't
Yes.
legitimately get in there. So he was always angry, and he got a little taste of power. And when I read about all the things Barr did on his behalf, even this thing with New York, he tried to cut that off, and they didn't even want Cohen to be arrested.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. And I actually hope, because Barr, I can give him some credit for the way he didn't back Trump in the post-election, but I think most of that was just to save his own skin. Barr is too good a lawyer. Barr knew if I join this guy, I'm screwed. They're going to come after me too. So he decided I'm not doing anymore. But he did a lot of corrupt things. He's a really corrupt individual, and he's got Saturn too. This period between now and next year, Saturn's in his face. I would be amazed if we didn't hear more stuff. At minimum, like a lot of things said that blame him for what took place here. At minimum, right? If not worse.
So what do you think Mueller's doing? You think he's sitting there smiling, or?
Well, I would think so. Although Mueller's another one that, to me, Mueller is like he's so much a public servant that he wouldn't speak up. He just wasn't going to do it.
But he did speak up when Barr lied about what his record said. He said, no, that's not what he said. That's when he went, he wasn't like that, but he went before Congress and told the truth.
Yeah, but he didn't do it. Remember how Comey was so much more articulate and clear, and Trump hated that. He hated that because Comey was saying plainly, this guy's a crook, in so many words. But Mueller was kind of hedging. He would say things like, well, yeah, it's true, generally speaking. He wouldn't come out and say, this man is a lying, SOB.
I think Jack Smith's going to be like Comey.
Yeah, well, Jack Smith, if that date of his that is out there, because we don't know 100%, but if it's true, yeah, that's not good for Trump at all, because it's lined up. This is the other thing, too, that you see all these people around him, like Conway, Kellyanne, she's always still on Fox, this is so unfair. But a lot of them have chart points that can be dangerous to Trump in a situation where they're forced to tell the truth. And again, I'm a little suspicious about Kellyanne. Why did she get called into that grand jury for the Alvin Bragg case? Because I heard somewhere that she heard Trump saying, yeah, I'm paying off the porn star. Well, you're either paying her off or you're not. But if someone knows that you did that, you have a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that if that's brought up in court, he can say all he likes that I didn't do this. Then I mean, like now he wants us to believe that he's paying off porn stars for nothing. Really? Like that's what I heard. One of the
And he calls
explanations
her
was,
horse face. And then if you look at her testimony on 60 Minutes, she said he looked at her and said, I like you. I like you. You're beautiful like my daughter, and you're smart like my daughter.
right, sure.
And Mary Trump said that's how he talks. That's it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he called her honey buns. She said that was his nickname for everybody, was honey buns.
right.
But she
No,
took she said, I'm going to spank you with that magazine. And he said, what?
yeah,
And she wrapped it up and she told him to bend over, and he pulled down his pants. His underwear was on. And she whacked him twice. Boy, he was so excited. Anyway, thanks for the visual, right?
no, and I mean, by the way, this is the payment. I mean, when you look at it, the Saturn in his chart, the transit. First of all, at birth, it sits in a house that, among many meanings, one of the meanings is hidden love affairs, right? So that Saturn circulates, goes into the eighth now. The eighth is a house of sex. It's pretty clear. Now, it's not the only thing. You know what else is in that house? Taxes, insurance, banking.
Oh my
And they were saying yesterday how it's possible that Bragg isn't even going to touch the political campaign violation. He's going to get him for failing to pay his taxes, which is a crime. Again, this is the Al Capone method. They couldn't put Al Capone in jail for murder. They just put him in jail for taxes. And even if you don't put Trump in jail, but you nail him hard on a tax violation, and it's not the only one. That's what the other case is about. Letitia James has got this huge case, looking for fraud around taxes, insurance, loans, all the eighth sign when Saturn, which is where it is now for 3 years. It's plenty of time,
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
So someone wrote and asked me, Ness wrote me and asked to ask you, Pluto into Aquarius, 323, exits June 11th. What is that about?
Well, first answer is Pluto in Aquarius for any individual. It depends if it touches something in your chart. If it does, then it's a change agent. It's actually very useful. You can really change your life in a big way when Pluto's around. If there's some point in early Aquarius, early Leo, early Scorpio, early Taurus, right? Because from that point, it challenges those different areas, but it challenges you to grow. But then if you talk about the world situation, my sense is that it's good because pulling away from Capricorn where it's been in 2008. But remember that this year it only goes into Aquarius a little bit.
Yes.
A couple of months, then it backtracks again. It doesn't go fully into Aquarius till 2025. So remember that, right? Next year it'll have more time in Aquarius, and then in 25 it goes in for good. The idea is that is pulling away from a sign, Capricorn, where it's been for years and years, that all too easily encourages fascism and government problems, which you've seen throughout the planet. I mean, it's been not just here. It showed up in Brazil.
Oh, yes.
Countries like Israel struggles with their democracy now. Europe is all out of sorts. But the flow is away from that once it goes into Aquarius, which is what it's doing now. So once again, though, we're talking definitely months and probably years as you see this momentum starting to change, right? So that's what it means. And Aquarius is a better sign for democracy because Aquarius is the sign of the people. It's a sign of the group, and pulling it away from the idea of fascism, which fascism is always one individual. And Trump's whole game is just elect me. I'm the only person who can solve this problem. Sure. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. But he had 4 years already. He didn't do nothing.
I know.
So I want to mention to everybody that on one of my live event, I said that I saw Kim Jong-un or his stand-in, whoever that is. I saw him really showing his rear when the United States and South Korea start doing their thing. You know how they have those events where they practice in case of something. And he's sending missiles, he's not hitting anybody yet, but he's sending. And I said this would happen.
that
I
he
said
would
he's
send
gonna
missiles?
show his rear. He's gonna act out, but he's not gonna create any kind of major event.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the way he does things. He's done this thing for years, off and on. You know, that to show his whatever he's showing, his muscle. He shoots missiles into the sea, and you know, and the thing is now he's gotten Japan to arm themselves to the teeth. You know, Japan after the Second World War stopped their military.
Yeah,
Now Japan has armed, you know, or at least is arming. So, but that's the consequence, you know, that
yeah. And
you
by the
play
way,
with this.
Japan won the big baseball thing. They got good baseball players.
Okay, that I didn't know. Is that right? They beat
Yeah.
the. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, Ron asked, when do you two see Ukraine starting their big counteroffensive and kicking the Russians out of their country?
What's your sense of that? Because the only thing I can think of in terms of the astrology is that the shift is in a couple of months. When we get into mid-May, the Jupiter cycle changes, and that change is not good for Putin. It'll begin to show the errors of his overexpansion the last year. He's been, you know, throwing more men in there to their death, literally, and you know, engaging in total destruction. But from that point, it should shift, you know, in a better direction. But I'm not sure that it'll be instantaneous, because now apparently China might be helping them out.
Well, no, I got the hit when I saw him going back on the plane to go back home. I saw a lot of circling talk, but I didn't see any big event happen. So my psychic impression is that, you know, China plays both sides of the fence. They don't want to create a lot of chaos. So they might hand them a little money, but that's about it.
So what's your sense of if because that question goes to, is there a point where we could see the Ukrainian?
China's not going to help them with hurting Ukraine. They might give them some money back. I always, you know, somebody wrote me the other day. It's kind of really sad. Well, I'm looking at Putin. I don't think he looks sick. He's sick. His face is blown up like Prendelssohn City. And he's just really, the Russian people may turn against him, is what I'm getting. And he'll have to start running.
Well, it's pretty clear that the Saturn cycle that just started, that I can tell you is not favorable at all to health. It's not favorable because
yeah, well, we hoped it had been sooner than later, but like you said, you know, but he's not going to win against Ukraine. He's just not.
I guess people's question, because now it's turned into this thing where he's going to want to keep part of Ukraine, and Zelensky now doesn't want to let him keep any of it. And
Yeah.
That's where the contention might be. And, you know, I don't know the answer to that yet.
He went down somewhere where they had taken over, Putin did, and walked through it like he was, you know,
Yeah, Crimea.
and guess what? It was smashed to smithereens. There's nothing there. I don't know what the hell they think they got. So,
Mariupol, yeah, that city that they conquered. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, though, is what I don't know the answer to is it's a great question. Can the Ukrainians kick them out completely, you know, and have their country back with the borders the way they were before 2014? Because he took part of it in 2014 and has kept it ever since. And then he's tried to expand that, and so far he's basically hanging on to what he had for the most part.
Right.
But having destroyed everything. So that's something that as of yet, I'm not getting clarity on it. What's your sense? Do you have any sense of that at all? Or?
I know that he's not going to win. I see him either dying or being taken out. Like arrested or somebody. People are already, there is inside people right now, could even be with the United States. Remember how our CIA used to work? And, you know, remember how they tried to get the Cuban guy? There's inside people right now that I think are intel that are trying to get, you know, here's the problem is Trump gave Putin all the intel. So then all of a sudden, all our intel out in the world started dying because they were killing him. And then some great musician in Russia, a guy who was like 38 and he did some songs that were against the war. He was found drowned the other day.
Oh, well, that's nothing new,
You
right?
know, Putin just can't take anybody he's like Trump.
Yeah.
If Trump could do it, he'd get rid of you.
Oh, yeah, no question. Yeah. Well, that's the fascist playbook. You just, you rule by fiat. You just say, eliminate whoever, and
I trust my guides, and when my guides do a real verbal where they say something to me that's really strong, when they told me that the Ukraine was getting ready to get hit with Russia, I went into a panic mode. Like, oh no, please no. And then they said, this is the beginning of the end of Putin. So I trust them because I heard it as clear as day.
yeah.
So
No, I
this
mean,
is the beginning of the end.
and the astrology for Putin, the problem he has is that it's about in this path now where Saturn's going 5-6 years. It's a long time with opposing energy, problems, it's not good. Health for sure. Maybe you can say that he looks healthy. Sure. I mean, lots of people have looked healthy and then they keel over the next day. Don't trust it. Same with Trump, by the way. Trump has a health signature pattern there where he could have an event at any point.
Right.
Because it's affecting health where it is. It's just that we haven't seen it yet, but it's there.
It's there. Did you take a look at McConnell? How's he doing? I heard he's on the phone talking to his people.
Yeah, McConnell is a really early Pisces, so that's an example of Saturn went in and kapow, he falls. Yeah, I don't want to laugh, but
yeah, I thought he broke his shoulder. He broke a rib. It was so painful.
Well, wasn't it a head?
And he got a concussion. Yeah,
he got a concussion, right? So I would say McConnell, unless something really crazy happens, like he perishes because whatever. I mean, that once in a while it does happen that way, but the normal course here is likely that as we go toward the spring point, Saturn is getting away from his sun, like leaving the degrees, so then he'll likely feel better, But problem is though, it comes back there again later in the year a couple of times, and at minimum that's not going to be good for his political situation. But the political situation is really tough because the House is against him. I mean, it's really complicated, but it could also signal more health problems between now and next spring, because the Saturn
and if
is
what
warming.
we're seeing comes true and we get another Democratic president and the House is once again goes back Democrat and the Senate, then I could see he's just like, I'm stepping down. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and that can be the kind of thing that at his age and with that circumstance that you've just described, because that would be, then I got to sit here for another 2 years.
Right.
So then the Saturn in your sign can be the end, like this, the idea that, okay, enough, because Saturn tends to be a period where goes to your sun, important beginnings, important endings, like life changes, going forward into many years. And that would be, to me, a retirement situation based on lack of success and the fact that he's older, he's going to have lower energy. And maybe that there might be some leftovers from this hit. I mean, it's never good to get a concussion. That's not a good thing.
Well, he's been hospitalized now for weeks.
Right.
In a facility.
Exactly.
He's not even home with staff. He's in a facility.
Right. Which is not good in the sense of what it can leave, as a longer term injury, pain, etc.
Tuxedo Cat said, I've been having a plethora of tech issues last week.
Well, don't blame
Is there
Mercury.
something going on in the planet?
You can't blame it on Mercury retrograde, but there's likely something happening to them in their chart. For example, something to their Mercury or something to the ruler of the third sign, something that brings in the person's tech, communication stuff. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, Mercury retrograde, you can't really blame for that.
Mary, any astrological information for downfall of DeSantis?
DeSantis, this is an interesting thing that, of course, I'll be watching really carefully. DeSantis actually should rise between May of 23 and May of 24. And that probably isn't good news for Trump, right? When you think of that, because Jupiter in Taurus is very good for Virgo. So from the May 23 to May 24, the problem is that in the middle of 24, Jupiter leaves Taurus, and the next sign isn't good for Virgo, and that's when he goes toward the election. And then Saturn is there too, so now you have two not cooperating with you. But in the near term, it's pretty good, right? And that would probably be bad news for Trump. And you start to get the feeling that maybe DeSantis grows because Trump drops. I mean, if they're indicting Trump around the same time, people will say, well, I mean, at least this guy isn't, being sued in 50 different ways and so forth. So that's the possibility that I would see. Yeah.
So we talked about this a little bit. Kathy wanted to know about the meeting with Vladimir Putin and China's president.
I think it's just
did you probably don't have China's president's.
I've looked at him, but I haven't looked at him in a while. I think that Putin is just desperate. He's just desperate to get anything.
Well, even visuals is what he needs. He's almost like Trump is. All you got to say is you're thinking something's wrong and we'll take it from there. That's all you got to say. That's almost like Putin, like just come and stand here and do a picture with me so everybody's frightened and thinks we're working together.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's the typical, propaganda fascist playbook. He plays it over and over again. That's what he does. Yeah. 100%.
What would the U.S. look like in 10 years? Have you taken a look-see at that?
Well,
we're just trying to get through these years, huh?
Well, yeah, because the U.S. Okay, so I think the unanswered question is that we're going into. That's about right, because 10 years from now, Uranus will have been through the end. It will get to the end of Gemini. Uranus is getting close to entering Gemini, and Gemini is where the U.S. Uranus is, because we were formed with the Uranus in Gemini. And every time it's been in Gemini, there is quite a bit of turbulence, but a lot of change that then brings in a new reality. So the first time that it did that was the Civil War. The next time was the Second World War. And now we're in this Gemini period. And so I would say 10 years from now, it will look really different, but I'm optimistic that the trajectory is toward more freedom, not less. These people that are doing this fascist routine, we're going to put everything in the hands of one person, this is not going to work. But we got to go through it. That's life. I mean, it would be easy to snap your fingers, everything is solved. It won't be like that. This is why, I mean, look at the current government. I mean, McCarthy and these people, like total liars. They just say things, that aren't true.
Did you get anything when they said they were going to go investigate Alan Bragg? Did you feel it? I feel like as much ado about nothing going nowhere.
No. First of all, I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, McCarthy and MTG, very soon, just watch, by April, May, there's a lot of Saturn there. Saturn does not treat irresponsible, undisciplined people well. It hits them hard. I don't know what he's going to arrange for himself, but he's headed that way. So let him talk if he likes. He's lying, and he knows he's lying. This is the part that burns me the most, when you are lying, knowing that you're lying. Because two things can't possibly be true at the same time. And he's, saying things like, well, how can you charge him for almost nothing in New York? What do you mean almost nothing? What are you talking about? People are being put in jail for much smaller felonies. Why does he get off? They make it seem like it's a made-up story.
Oh, it's all political.
Bookkeeping error, according to Jim Jordan, Mr.
Oh,
Good Guy.
it's not right, equal justice. Equal justice, my ass. You had poor Hillary Clinton in there trying to throw her in jail till the cows came home. And you still couldn't come up with nothing.
Yeah, no, exactly. But my point being, though, that we're living through a period where the government situation in the country is really disharmonious, disturbed, because one of the parties doesn't even bother to relate to basic truth. They just, make stuff up.
And Trump is telling them, do something, but they can't do anything.
Yeah, no, and why, and if you ask why, It's not complicated because they know McCarthy, Jordan, Lee Stefanik, they know that the voters, Trump has them mesmerized. So there are millions of people who, they never watch any news, by the way. If you're watching Fox News, they won't even tell you that there's what's behind the scenes around Alvin Bragg. They don't tell you, hey, it's a real charge. You're not allowed to do this. They just say, oh, it's political and whatever. So then they remain in the dark and they keep those people happy so Fox can keep making money.
Right.
And so Trump can be carrying on. But like Joe Scarborough says, how do you win elections doing this? How? Because you get all these people following you, but you get more people against you. Isn't it interesting that, remember that thing we said last time, how 56% think woke is a good term? Okay, like how is that good news? So 56% of the country likes woke and 39% doesn't like it. And they keep talking, woke, woke, woke is bad, woke is bad. That's not what people are thinking.
70% of the country think women should take care of their own bodies.
Exactly.
But still, we're going to arrest you if you do this. It's all about making women pay.
Exactly. So basically, they're a minority party, and they seem to want to stay in the minority by their actions. But this is where we all have to be disciplined and vote and stay on track every election, vote everywhere, encourage people to vote, and even keep your mentality. Your mind should be always on, we're going to win this thing. We're going to hold together. We're not going to get scared and wonder, oh, if Trump is coming back. Just keep your mind on the target. Stay positive around how we'll get the country to work. It's actually how democracy works. The people have to come together, to bring about.
I had a vision years ago when all this started, and I saw a lot of Republicans jumping ship, almost like I don't know him, like rats coming off a ship.
Oh, they're dying to do that.
And I'm feeling like once he's down, then they're like, oh well, it's like McCarthyism is what I always said.
Yeah, well,
one day he was the big chief, and now he's a nobody.
Yeah, well, you remember what happened to McCarthy, right? Speaking of McCarthy, the previous McCarthy, he was really powerful. Everybody's a communist. Till things started to change. He died in his late 40s, a broken man, and basically a total alcoholic, and with no one liking him. This kind of behavior may take more or less time, but it's not good.
No.
Not good at all.
Now, also, the other thing I wanted to bring up, Trump trying to call for people to riot. That's a Nithenberger going on out there now. There was something in Florida, I saw maybe 20 people. New York has more people wanting him to go to jail that are marching.
Well, New York especially, right? For sure. But I thought it was interesting that it was said that the Trumpers are saying, no, we don't want to protest because we think it's a trap. They're trying to, the trap is that they put 1,000 of them in jail. See, this is the thing, right? That people don't give that any credit. The Justice Department has put a lot of these people in the slammer. So now if you're going to, go and demonstrate, you're thinking, what if I'm next? So then that works against him. These are all points where he would love to see.
Oh, he would have loved to see some
He would love that. Imagine if like 40,000 people, remember when Giuliani back in the 90s was able to get all the ex-policemen to create a big scene and so forth. That's what these fascists love. Trump would love that, but all these people now are thinking, but that doesn't work so well.
When his place was, it wasn't raided. They called and said, we're coming, we're going to go through. They talked to the secrets, but he said, I was raided. He really had hoped people would say, how dare you? And people, I think there were 6 people down there by Mar-a-Lago, and they wouldn't even let them use their bathrooms.
Exactly. Right.
But he was looking, when he came out of New York, I saw him looking, and I could see he was looking, hoping that hundreds have gathered on his behalf.
And they hadn't. And you saw yesterday that what did they say? That there were more reporters than Trump supporters on the scene. And then the other scene scene I saw is all these people with Trump is a liar, Trump behind bars, standing in front of the court. New York is very hostile to Trump, basically.
Yeah. Well, years ago when I said he's not going to win, you guys, he's not going to win, I see dancing in the streets. Sure enough, when he lost, there was dancing in the streets.
There was. And I mean, in a way there should be, because he really is a malevolent individual. He's dangerous in that he's not looking out for the country. He tell everything with Trump, if you want to know what's happening, it's the opposite. Whatever he says, just flip it over. Like Truth Social, that's funny because it's all full of lies and inventions, and
Well, he's He's such a nasty energy form, but you know, we had to learn something from this. But I want to ask you the last question. Have you taken a look at Netanyahu or Israel or anything? What is this? He's
Yeah,
just as bad as Trump.
well, Netanyahu, the thing with Netanyahu is when I looked at him a while back, because he's got planets late in Libra, so he was getting a lot of Pluto energy, and that's when he temporarily lost his power. And then he came back. That I have to be honest, I didn't think he would. I thought it would finish him, but he came back. I think he came back because of the world situation. There are a lot of places where there's unrest. Democracies are in a tough spot right now.
Yeah.
But now he got himself into another jam because he's trying to push through something that the people don't like. So there's still enough Pluto energy because Pluto doesn't really get out of Capricorn until 2025. So my best guess is that he's going to be stopped and he won't attain or achieve what he wants to achieve.
Well, even the military is
Rejecting,
against
yeah,
him.
against him, yeah, exactly. So he's in a tough spot, and I'm praying that as the Pluto moves toward the middle of the decade, these democracies smooth out, and you start to get
Yeah.
more common sense around.
Well,
it.
the other thing is that he's under investigation. That's why he's trying to change it, is for his purpose.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's like Trump's whole thing. I mean, it's completely transparent. The reason he's
Yeah.
doing all this is because he wants to avoid being
And
charged.
if Trump was in office now, he would change the DOJ. He would get rid of all of them.
Totally, totally. Which, by the way, I hope I still feel that he won't get the nomination. I'm skeptical, but in the event that he does, the Democrats should run their campaign scaring the hell out of people about Trump. Just put in front of the public, this is what this guy is going to do to make sure that all the Democrats vote. And if they vote, he can't win because there aren't enough Republicans. There just aren't.
No.
It's not going to happen. So that's the bottom line.
Well, my friend, thank you so much. And
Oh, it
how
was
do
fun.
people get a hold of you?
Well, Astrology Alert, or if you go to Astrology Alert, you'll see the link to the new channel, so you can see that as well, and that'll pretty much
Are you
cover
staying
everything
pretty
that I'm doing.
busy?
Yeah, I'm really busy at the moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
super busy.
Okay.
You know why? Because I've been under Saturn, right? But here's what's interesting about Saturn, right? That I'll mention as the last thing. Saturn is the ironic planet because no one likes Saturn. You get more pressure, but it's the only time you really get things done. It's the only time. It's when Saturn comes by, and that happened to you in 2009. Back
Yeah.
then, it just moves in and says, "All right, enough.
It's
I gotta do
time
this."
to do the business.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's the advantage, but it's not as much fun as
Right.
say, Jupiter.
So you said all the early Pisces and stuff. So the late Capricorns, the late Pisces,
No, the late. What are you talking about now? Saturn?
Saturn, yeah.
Yeah, no, early Pisces, early Virgo, early Sagittarius, early Gemini. They're
Okay.
all getting Saturn in 2023. By early, I mean like the first 10 days, that
Okay.
group, especially the ones that are in the really, really early beginning of the sign, because they're getting quite a bit of
Yes.
Saturn. But again, that's it. Think of it as a good thing if you can do good work, because it'll
Get things
take you to the
done.
next level. Yeah.
All right, my friend.
All right.
I will talk to you later. I'll be
Bye,
on your
everyone.
show next week.
Bye, everyone. Yes.